Everyone, thank you very much for joining me. Polina here, chatting to you a little bit about the new moon happening on the 29th of June. It is now the 22nd. I am coming to you from the beautiful Chirapamanta Retreat Center. It is a lovely eco lodge that I am promoting and talking about this month around. If you're interested, come and see me in Peru, come and see me here, and we'll find you a beautiful space where we'll treat you very well. There's so much to do here. I'm currently promoting this retreat. If you're interested and if you have some time during the next few months, please come and visit me. Anyway, let's talk to you a little bit about the moon. So the new moon here starts on a very, very interesting note. You see, we have Fortune in between Neptune and Jupiter on this cusp between Pisces and Aries. This is a very, very gifted energy. So already this entire week, you might feel that there is something either given or taken away, then later to be giving you something else. So this is a very interesting time for gifts, for explorations. We're at the bottom of the chart, so we are in the fourth sign of Cancer now. This is a very, very solidifying energy, as it is also a cardinal sign. So, if you like, you can take your time deciding what you want to do in your life. You can really, really take your time, and don't be afraid of these big question marks, because some of the stuff is very real. It's more real than real. So sometimes there is a time in one's life where lots of questions get answered and a lot of things get put together. So to me, it feels that this is the type of month and the type of moon which is going to get you something or help you understand or revive a certain interest in something you were meant to be interested in before, or it'll help you congeal things and help them grow. So like the moon in Cancer usually is a very, very good and comfortable sign. Usually we get quite a lot done during a moon in Cancer because it is very, very comfortable and happy in the fourth house, but it also can be very, very limiting for us sometimes. So sometimes there's a limiting energy, a limited color scheme or palette, but don't be afraid of it, because the universe is trying to get things right. So quite often Cancer moons, they try to help you see maybe part of that which you really need to know. It helps you with the details, it helps you heal. The moon in Cancer usually helps us to heal our heart and our family lines and the culture in which we represent, also how we've been treated by others. If we were not well seen or treated in society or in our families or in our groups of friends and things, it is a very, very important moon to congeal a better quality life. So when I look at Cancer as a frequency, I see a batter. This is like mixing batter before making bread. And there is a cohesive, congealing sort of quality, so sticking things together that previously were not meant to be or could not come to term. Also, it is about undoing or unraveling certain karmas, so don't be afraid to purge. This is a very interesting moon to open up those wormholes, open up those spaces between us, opening those corrupt cycles as well, and things that were not looking good or were not feeling good for quite a long time. So to me, a Cancer moon can be either a very, very helpful holding, or it can be a disorganization of things, or things can sort of come to pieces in order to then see things better. So it's kind of a healing moon, either way you look at it. So whether or not your life right now is coming to place and the pieces are finding their way back, or if it is coming apart, it doesn't really matter in the end, because to me it looks like it is for the greater healing and the greater knowledge of self. So it feels to me that most of us are going through at least one motion in our lives that has to do with our families and has to do with a longevity, or like a long cycle of who we are here to be, and a long-term planning. So that means that anything to do with the Cancer moon usually has to do with something very, very discreet sometimes, and sometimes kind of a prepackaged, but in a way eternal. So there's always going to be a memory or an eternity linked to anything that Cancer has in store for us. And being the first few degrees of Cancer now, it is a very, very nice and legitimizing time. It is a very, very good classical window. It is a very, very good ancestral or ongoing long-term window that usually Cancer provides. And we have to understand family now. We also have to understand our futures through the past. And also, if you are happy and willing, help somebody else understand that as well. So this is not necessarily a time to have that hard talk. I don't think this is about tough love. I think it is about healthy things and a feeling of home. I feel that a person with a very, very beautiful past can help another person with a troubled mind or troubled energy. I also feel that we can share our ancestry and give advice based on very peaceful, mature, and nurturing energies. And also, we don't necessarily have to talk. Sometimes just a plate of food, just a beautiful hello or goodbye, hug and kiss, just a lovely shaking of hands, just a beautiful involvement of somebody in your home, a beautiful display of your values and systems can be significant enough to teach somebody what to do. So knowledge is not passed on through the mouth, so it's not necessarily a verbalized energy. Also, as we do have a beautiful sparkling Mercury and a lovely luscious big Jupiter at an aspect to the Sun, actually Jupiter is, um, they're not really the main thing. So when you look at this chart, the Sun is leading this precession of planets. So we have all of these main masculine planets behind the Sun, and we do have also Venus trailing behind the Sun as well. So we have a very, very unconscious grid. So this means that the soul kind of knows its worth or knows its passage without having all the details in place. They will just come in when the time is right. So there is a lost and found feeling between us. I already talked about hand-me-downs and not being happy with something about your life, but for somebody else it being a treasure or being very, 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 very well. And people finding very, very graceful, beautiful results based on somebody else's past. Also because there's a precession of planets behind the Sun, some things are unconscious or that have been visited before. The Sun is pretty much the first space holder in this precession. So as this trailing of planets helps to support the Sun, it's a very powerful placing. We also do have to understand that sometimes we don't really know ourselves or we don't really fully catch on to the system. So it's not about knowing, understanding, and delegating. This is a very important message. It's more about just tasteful connections and experiences and being sometimes the first one to visit a place or the first person to be able to touch something or somebody in the context or in this life. So this is a very, very hard beginning, I feel, for me and for some people that are very, very used to overly identifying, understanding, or criticizing. So for example, if you're a person, because criticism is a big part of Cancer actually, if you're a person that tends to over-process and over-expand or over-explain themselves, is going to be a very, very hard time for those of us that are reliant so much on our intellect and our know-how and our planning. So planning doesn't work. Doing things on paper sometimes can be, but if you are gentle enough and you are youthful enough and you're new enough to the moment to experience, I think that's going to hold a lot more for you. A little bit more about the aspects around the Sun-Moon conjunction here in the new moon. We have Ceres right in front of the Sun, actually, this conjunction. We also have Lilith, very intense, Black Moon Lilith, very close to the Sun. We have Eros and Sappho there too. And of course the global IC right there as we've just passed the solstice. So there's a very, very big significance that this part of the sky holds. I feel that we're very, very, very there. We really want to share. So sometimes that's when a person knows they want to be a parent, for example. Sometimes this is when a person's finally ready to speak out about their truth or to share their treasures. The very, very intense emotionality of Ceres in Cancer is just wanting to give. So sometimes there is a scream of the heart that the mind won't be able to catch on to till later. So for example, cutting people incredible deals, making money or making place out of something that is very easy, very bountiful for you. Very, very easy to also sugarcoat things that are not necessarily real or true. And not be nervous about it. But the main thing, it is a giving time. There's a gift in Ceres in Cancer. So there's like a big turnover of things. Sometimes it needs to happen to be able to really hope that greater dream for other people or for yourself. So there is a huge need to cater, to give, to advise, to take care. And for some of us, I feel it's not going to fully be unless we let the moment rule the decision. So sometimes planning things ahead of time is hard. But what we can do is we can very simply base our logic and our timing here on just the best of the best, because we do have Eros there as well. And Eros is a tiny little aspect in astrology that really, really makes us want to do the best we can. So Eros is about quality. Sometimes people feel very inspired about presenting something that they have because of the high quality or their ideology behind what they're doing. And that's a very, very beautiful and spacious time that I feel Eris is going to provide us later. But at the moment, it can be a little tight. So, for example, instead of speaking or instead of giving, instead of dreaming next to somebody, you want to make sure that you get it right. And that is a very, very beautiful time, I feel, for me and other people like myself. There's so many of us who have been so put and tried so hard to do the best that we could. So if you have an ideologist inside of you, or if you're constantly working within the realm of perfection, or wanting perfection in your life, or seeking perfection, this is going to be a big answer to you. So if you want to perfect your life further, if you want to take care of something or somebody, if you want to do the best you can, this is a very, very beautiful and timely space to understand where that eternal element or that memorable element, which is what Moon in Cancer provides, really truly is. So this is where you don't have to think, speculate, or get all the details right in your head, because as I said earlier, the mind is trailing behind the sun. We have Mercury in the unconscious zone to the sun. So we don't have that know-how at the moment. Yes, Mercury will catch up and we'll see everything for what it is exactly in due time. But at the moment, it is about more the feeling good about things and just the taking care. So it's a very, very nice, also emotional momentum to me, as I'm understanding now. Some of the time we've done the work, so that could have been many years or many hours that you've put into something prior to this flowering moon. So, like for example, if you've had a big plan, or if you've really wanted to do the best, or if you've been training, if you've been giving, if you've been helpful, if you've been taking care of something or somebody, is going to take you places. So it's a very, very nice way to think about it. All the effort that you've put into your work or into your dream before might start to make matters either heavy if it's not in the right context, or it's going to make it very joyful and easy for you to go to the next steps of what this moon allows, because the new moon is always a new step or a new format of life. So this is where you need to understand what is the prerequisite of that which I am doing now. It's a very, very nice time to dream and to imagine. We have Black Moon Lilith next to the Sun also there, Sun Moon. It's a very, very interesting time to remember, to feel resonance with that which is of greater philosophy or greater karma. But a lot of it doesn't really come from the self. It's not about you. It's just about your ancient ancestry, or it's about your very old passage in time or your memories. So I think that a lot of the inspired and feel-good feelings that are coming during this moon aren't just new and fresh feelings, although there is always a new and fresh bounty and quickness to a new moon anyway. It is more an ancestral or an ancient path. And I feel and trust that a lot of us who are growing within the realm of nature and history and genetics and understanding culture, ancestry, and all of those treasure chests of life, we're going to be very well given. So, for example, if you have a collection of wares that come from a certain place in the world, if you've been collecting old books or ancient artifacts, if you're somebody who is a collector or a person who is a curator of the arts, or somebody who understands culture, if you're taking yourself further now, maybe you already understand because of the wind of your ancestors, if the journey of your ancestry is taking you further, if you're understanding the world so much better through the repetitive cycles that you've created based on previously existing cycles. So this is where style doesn't just come from your whim. It's not just from the 90s, 80s, and today. So your style and your sensibility and your part to play in the world, in your life, isn't actually based on a question mark anymore. It's based on a repetitive or maybe even recycled sequence that comes from a earlier part in history. So for example, if you're now doing something that your mother has done, if you are baking bread the way your grandmother has baked it, if you're following in your father's footsteps, it's a very, very precious and big timeline for those of us that are asking the right questions and that are trying to put history back into place and click things as they should have been, to understand that it was worth it. So if you have a certain therapy that you provide, if you have a certain skill, or if you come from an ancient mentality, or you feel that you're carrying the voice of your ancestors with you, or the voice of the planet with you, that is going to start to pay here. So I feel that some people are going to start to get incredible results. So for example, if you've made a very ancient recipe come to life with your art or with your music or with what you create, maybe the way that you make soap is very, very proudly antique, or maybe the way that you speak is based on a very ancient rationality or a very ancient rhythm that is going to start to come back to life. So a lot of these trends that are very new and very sparkly, quite honestly, on some level might just have a very ancient element to them. So what makes something viral and able to stand the test of time is because you're not speaking just to a person, but their ancestry too, or their ancient sensibilities. So for those people that are making something during this time, for people that are making homes, for people that are making plans, and making anything based on an ancient root system is going to become very obvious if you are. So it's a very, very nice time to listen in. So for example, if you are in a drumming circle or a singing circle, you hear the tune and it's like your whole body remembers it, or if you are feeling very, very safe in an environment, you can fully finally express your true root system or your true culture. That is one of the most beautiful things that can happen here. But you have to really take care of these things. So unfortunately, sometimes we let those antique items dust away in our house. We let things rot. We don't think about the fidelity or the beauty of that which we have. We sometimes can also be in part disrespectful or distorting towards that which is our ancient treasure, or what has been with us or our families for thousands of years. We don't want to hear it again. We don't want to see it again. But I trust one of the better parts of this particular time and this year of Tiger is mastery. And you're going to be like 12 times more backed up in your process, in your mastery, in your evolution. If you have something that has been before, and also if you are developing, strengthening, and reconfiguring, especially at this time in June, July, the culture and the nature of your root system, because the root system is going to take you so much further than a fad. And that's always been fact. So like the idea here is to become free and empty and not try to overcompensate for anything or overclog the space that you now may be really resoundingly holding for us all. So this is a very interesting thing. I feel that most people are now starting to hold spaces within each other's hearts and souls, or there's a way that people hold space professionally or in the collective that has not been held before. But there is nothing outlandish probably about these people. There is something ancient and ancestral. So even sometimes the sparkliest, brightest, and most like naive looking entrepreneurs actually holding an immense spark that comes from many thousands of years of evolution. So we have to be somehow more open for that. And if you like, you can unpack your knowledge bank further. So for example, if you are singing ancient songs that come from your people, it's a beautiful sign. It's a beautiful time if you want to unpack that even further and let people look even deeper and further into your repertoire. If you're doing something very tribal and ancestral, if you are taking care of people on a very, very ancient and very, very specific level, it's a very, very beautiful time to undress it even further. So to understand that it doesn't just come from the times. Oh yeah, I'm just the face that lived in 2022, I'm just one of the faces. It's not like that. Don't be a face, just a figment, because Gemini, we've just passed Gemini, is the face. It's not just a face in a group. It's not just a face in a crowd. It is more than this. Inside of you, inside of your eyes, is maybe a sense of humor, personality, and gentleness, or a vigor, or a talent that you don't even know yet is a great talent that you can lead other people with because of your ancestral parts. So this is about dominating kindly and quietly. So this is about your genetic system being able to care for another person with that which it provides. So this is not about force or brute strength. This is, yes, also about individuality, as we do have Jupiter and the question of individuality happening in Aries. It is about being individual. Yes, it is about being sensual or being mega interesting, as Eros would always add sensuality to the sun. It's not just about being different and being fun. It's actually all of that as well. It's about carrying that wisdom through the joy. So this is not just about slapstick comedy, though for some people it is, based on their genetic past. It's not just about that. It is also about holding somebody. And it's interesting because Cancer, especially Moon in Cancer, does know how to dominate with kindness and quietness or just gentleness. So like a little touch, a little word, a little care, a little food at the common table, or just a little bit of knowledge spilled in the right place and time can be very dominating. But it is not a scary thing, because Moon in the chart does speak of dominance or predominance of something. So it's not just about pulling somebody in or out. It's not about making somebody feel dense. It's not about helping somebody with rudeness or abruption or like a strange sort of a karmic creativity. It's not about introducing polarity into the space. It's just about holding yourself together and knowing how to express from that very holy space of who you are. And then some of the time, a lot of the people that are dominant or that are matriarchal or patriarchal, it's not just about that. They are just basically significant in a situation. You know, because in Gemini, we just went through the group of friends. We just went through common significances. But this is about personal, private, and ancestral significance. What has maybe always helped you be more significant or in a way significant in a group and hold your space beautifully and perfectly is your wholeness. And also, in a way, the way that you have designed who you are. So I feel that it's not just about like the beautiful external things anymore. It's not about like the eyebrows or the hair or like how you wear your dress. It is for some people about that, depending on their culture, space, and time, and what their ancestors have carried. But I think it's more than this. I think it's about the involvement and kind of this eloping concept with one's own hopes and dreams. It comes from a very, very significant space that you hold within your own aura. And that's when people don't really know how to penetrate through that. So, we talk about Cancer, the space of the home, the outer shell or the exoskeleton. It's not just about this. I actually trust that the whole Cancerian prelude, the whole Cancerian question mark is just about wholesomeness. And to some degree, we all just need a little bit of that in our lives. So if you are a poet of pleasure, if you are a poet of food, if you are a poet of comfort, this is something that might be very, very good for you. And I do definitely feel that there's poetry to the living space. A living space for a person throughout the centuries have never been just a box. It's always been a very, very formal, maybe, way of explaining yourself back to yourself, as the opposite of Cancer is, of course, Capricorn. We do have Pholus just on the opposite end there of this stellium of Sun, Eros, Sappho, Moon, Lilith, and Ceres. So there is a very, very needed gift, a very needed sale, maybe a very needed item, very needed purchase, very, very needed optimum question mark that you need here. So like the feeling is to plump and to seclude. Sometimes we don't really know how to answer our own prayers until somebody makes us an offer. Don't be afraid of that which other people are offering you. So this could be a herb or a plant. This could be a way in life. This could be a way in the world. This could be a question of dollars and cents. Maybe for some it is. There is not actually that much anger or frustration happening between people at the moment, as we've just resolved everything in Gemini, I hope. But there is a nurture needed that is more profound, I think, sometimes than the question marks themselves. So underneath a lot of these questions about money and like the sugarcoating of realities, and maybe also a bit of lying and storytelling that sometimes happens around during Cancer time, there is actually a really true need to scope out what is real and what is not nervous and what is wholesome and holy and divine within itself. So sometimes you think a person is after you because of something you have or something you own. There is not really enough of that energy here. The main frequency I'm feeling is, where is home? So like this bright and spacious Gemini is suddenly replaced by this big holy question mark of home and holiness and the nature within and without, which is what I think Cancer will supply us plenty of answers for this in the coming month. So like the whole question mark of how come, or where from, or what now, or how now, like what is this coming to, all of this questioning I feel is something that we really need to redefine through just the moments and the ease of these moments. If you're not very comfortable, that is hard. So the question is like, how are you eating, how are you going, how are you walking, how are you working with yourself? Do you love where you live? Do you love how you've been seated in this life? Do you feel optimum about who you are and who you become? How is your body? You know, what is your body feeling like? What is it sensing like? What is it looking like? Because there is a critical part of moon and sun and Cancer, definitely. There's going to have to be just a feeling question mark. How do you feel? And the feeling sometimes doesn't actually mean anything at all. It's just more about knowing that comes after. It's like we shared a table and I just knew it in my heart, or like we looked at each other and I just felt it, or there was an extra feeling, like it was kind of like a yellow feeling with a golden glaze and then it became a purple. You know, sometimes it's not very easy to explain it in your mind, but it's easy to explain it through the senses. Or like when I look at you, I see a person of the 17th century, but then they suddenly replaced by a robot. And then after that, I see me inside. You know, so like there is like a multiverse way of understanding moments through feelings, colors, smells, textures. It doesn't have to be a written report. You know, it doesn't have to be a paragraph of what you understand, which then also can be. I do definitely feel that there's going to be an explanation to it all, inevitably. But it's not just about that, it's just about a knowing that somehow eventually graces your mind, within which there is a memory of a memory and a picture of a picture or a fractal of a fractal. So some of the time we don't remember how to do this. And I definitely do understand when people are not fully like young enough, open enough, optimistic enough, hopeful enough to be able to fit some things into their life. So we're also talking about the miracle space that often do happen in cardinal signs. And this is that miracle space for me, because like now I understand it doesn't have to be recreated the same as I thought. You know, so sometimes also like a lot of that work and a lot of that stuff you've been working on, the systems and the arithmetics that you work on, you know, it's like very Germanic stuff, you know, you don't necessarily have to apply. Some of that hopefulness that you had years before might be answered now without having to have even a language to it. So there is a common choice also sometimes that Cancer can provide, as it does emulsify and knead like dough into life what maybe is yet to be or what is hopeful to become. So that is all I got for this moon. I hope that has been good, and I hope that you found some pieces for yourself there. If you like, you are welcome to journey with us here in Peru. You're also welcome to ask me any questions via the website, and also if you want, you can get a reading or anything like that. Thank you so much for joining me. All the information is in the caption section below. Thank you. Bye.